Today is Thursday, January 7th, 2021. Coming up on Roland Martin Unfiltered, broadcasting live from Atlanta. Unanswered questions about why white domestic terrorists were able to breach the U.S. Capitol on yesterday. Where was law enforcement? Was there a massive failure when it comes to leadership? Also, House Speaker Nancy Pelosi has accepted the resignation of the Sergeant-at-Arms. Senate Minority Leader Chuck Schumer says he wants the Sergeant-at-Arms on the Senate side to resign before he takes over as well. Folks, election results were certified late last night. And in spite of all the chaos, House members also calling for the impeachment of Donald Trump or for the cabinet to invoke Amendment 25. We'll talk with a constitutional expert about that. And Trump cabinet members and the staffers are walking away in protest of his behavior on yesterday. And President-elect Joe Biden today announcing his team to lead the Department of Justice. He condemned what took place in D.C. yesterday. We'll also talk with an attorney who was arrested and tased for wearing a dashiki to court in Los Angeles. And a football coach in Tennessee has been fired for his racist attack on Stacey Abrams on social media. Plus, a police officer is fired and charged with filing a false police report in the arrest of a black man in California. Folks, it is time to bring the funk on Roland Martin Unfiltered. Let's go.
He's got it. Whatever the miss, he's on it. Whatever it is, he's got the scoop, the fact, the fine. And when it breaks, he's right on time and it's rolling. Best believe he's knowing. Putting it down from sports to news to politics. With entertainment just for kicks, he's rolling. It's on go, roll, y'all. It's Roland Martin, yeah. Rolling with Roland now. He's funk, he's fresh, he's real, the best, you know he's Roland Martin now.
Democrats are demanding answers from Capitol Police as to what took place on yesterday to allow white domestic terrorists to breach the U.S. Capitol. A lot of questions, very few answers. Here's a video that was shared on TikTok to give you a sense of how the Trump terrorists overwhelmed Capitol Police. You'll see in this particular video here, you'll see where here you have them trying to hold them back. Then all of a sudden, they're fighting these Capitol Police officers. There are not enough of them. Then all of a sudden, they just overwhelm them with force. And then finally, the Capitol Police just sort of just backs off and allow these folks to come through. It was shocking and stunning to witness, to see this. And then all of a sudden, you see when one side, then another side, and all of a sudden, folks just move forward and move forward and move forward and move forward as the cops try to hold them back. Folks, it makes no sense what took place on yesterday. Keep in mind, there have been numerous protests near the U.S. Capitol. And in fact, Congresswoman Maxine Waters, she said that she was assured 5 days ago, by the police chief of the Capitol that they were prepared for the crowds. He told her they would not even be allowed on the Capitol grounds. Look at this video here, and you will see they clearly were allowed on the Capitol grounds. And so, again, a tremendous amount of questions that people are asking. Speaker Nancy Pelosi spoke today, and she said that she had handed and received the resignation of the House Sergeant-at-Arms. That person is supposed to protect members of the House of Representatives. Senator Chuck Schumer, the Democratic Minority Leader, he said that between now and when he takes over as Senate Majority Leader, when Raphael Warnock and John Ossoff were sworn in, he will demand the resignation of the Senate Sergeant-at-Arms as well. A complete and massive failure across the board. D.C. Mayor Muriel Bowser, she also spoke today where she made clear that they are going to build a 7-foot unscalable wall around the U.S. Capitol to protect the Capitol from any future protests from these Trump domestic terrorists. This is her today.
We will be looking very closely at what's happening at the Capitol, working with leadership and the presidential inauguration.
Okay, thank you.
But you did hear the secretary offer two very important points already, that the fencing up around the Capitol, non-scalable fence in place through the inauguration, and the large strength that will be coming on by this weekend, up to 60 will be available through the inauguration.
Which is a larger composition of personnel than we'd have for a standard inauguration.
Thank you. And just one follow-up there for you, Terry McCarthy. The black fence said at least 30 days, more than 30 days that will be erected.
At a minimum.
At a minimum.
We'll work that in coordination with, as well as the Kellys.
Thank you.
Yes, Mark.
Mark Seagraves, NBC Washington. Two questions for Secretary. One, could you, and I tried to follow along, could you repeat the specific about the fence? Will it completely surround the U.S. Capitol complex, the fencing? Could you give those specifics one more time?
Yes. So Constitution to Independence first, and then the road there in front by the pond, it'll be all the way around.
And how high will that be?
7 foot.
7 feet,
Non-scalable.
Compare that to what we see at the White House.
This is what was available. We worked through this solution midstream yesterday, and we were on the phones to get as quickly as possible capability in place to extend the perimeter of the National Capitol complex. We keep many metropolitan police officers out into the streets so that in the event that if this was to recur again downstream, Chief Conte would have as much ability with police force as possible and week over the static security positions.
And I appreciate it may not have been your decision, and we know it certainly, the chief and the mayor said it wasn't their decision, but what can you tell us about the lack of preparation prior to yesterday on the part of the U.S. Capitol, and why in months prior, while troops surrounding the Capitol and other protesters, but yesterday we didn't see anything. Why were there troops or any other backup security there yet? Given what we all knew, look, Domain, you must have had better intelligence than we all knew that was possible, if not likely.
Well, we don't have rely on our intelligence from law enforcement and local police, obviously, but with respect to the pre-coordination, to the mayor's point, those that are all being looked at, there were discussions previous with the Capitol Police and others, and no request of the D.C. Navy were made. Obviously, there's a different branch of governments have to be requested to come onto the.
Capitol Police Chief Steve Sund, a former police officer, said in his first public comments the chaos that rioters actively attacked Capitol Police and other law enforcement officers with metal pipe, discharged chemical irritants, and took up other weapons against officers. Now, the FBI, they plan to arrest upwards of 15 people. They have been scouring social media, looking at video and photos of individuals. A number of people who've also the protests have been fired by their companies for participating in these protests as well. Now, lawmakers from both parties have pledged to investigate law enforcement's actions and question whether a lack of repair allowed a mob to occupy and vandalize the building. So also, folks, just some other things in terms of to understand. The FBI also says 2 devices were found near the RNC and the DNC headquarters, and they also discovered a truck nearby that was packed with explosives and also guns and other items as well. And so clearly the individuals who were involved in this, they were meant to cause significant harm as Congress was meeting in the U.S. Capitol. The reason members are so upset, and later we're going to talk to 2 members, we'll be chatting with Congresswoman Brenda Lawrence right here. We also will be talking with Congresswoman Jahana Hayes. The members were in the Capitol. They had to be evacuated. It was a terrifying situation while the Capitol was being breached, and all the blame is going towards Donald Trump. Let me tell you how crazy this fool is. His head of Homeland Security, he has rescinded his letter to the Senate to appoint him as the head of Homeland Security because his interim head chose to say that Trump should condemn the protest. The White House, different reporters are saying that Trump was filled with glee watching what took place yesterday. It's been suspended from Twitter, infinite suspension from Facebook as well. Not allowed to post on those particular platforms. You have Democrats, numerous Democrats are calling for the invocation of the 25th Amendment. Elaine Chao, the Transportation Secretary, the wife of Senate Majority Leader Mitch McConnell, she has resigned her position as well. Other officials in the administration have resigned. The former Chief of Staff, Mick Mulvaney, who is the envoy to Ireland, he has resigned his position. And so all of this coming out of the terrifying situation on yesterday that we have been talking about where these white domestic terrorists stormed the U.S. Capitol. Now what you have is you have Republicans like Mo Brooks of Alabama, who is now suggesting that Antifa was responsible for what took place. They want to shift the blame as well. Today, President-elect Joe Biden talked about what took place on yesterday when he announced his team lead the Department of Justice. Watch.
Yesterday, in my view, one of the darkest days in the history of our nation. Unprecedented assault on our democracy. Assault, literally, on the citadel of liberty, the United States Capitol itself. An assault on the rule of law. An assault on the most sacred American undertaking, ratifying the will of the people in choosing the leadership of their government. All of us grieve the loss of life, grieve the desecration of the people's house. But what we witnessed yesterday was not dissent, it was not disorder, it was not protest, it was chaos. They weren't protesters. Don't dare call them protesters. They were a riot mob, insurrectionists, domestic terrorists. It's that basic, it's that simple. And I wish we could say we couldn't see it coming. That isn't true. We could see it coming. The 4 years we've had a president who's made his contempt for our democracy, our Constitution, the rule of law, clear in everything he has done. He unleashed an all-out assault on our institutions of democracy from the outset. And yesterday was but the culmination of that unrelenting attack. He's attacked the free press, who dared to question his power, repeatedly calling the free press the enemy of the people. Language at the time he first did, I and others said, has long been used by autocrats and dictators all over the world to hold on to power, the enemy of the people. Language that is being used now by autocrats and dictators across the world, this time with the imperator, an outgoing president of the United States of America. He's at our intelligence services, dared tell the American people the truth about the effort of foreign power to elect him 4 years ago, choosing instead to believe the word of Vladimir Putin over the word of those sworn allegiance to this nation, many of whom had risked their lives in the service of this nation. He deployed the United States military, tear-gassing peaceful protesters in pursuit of a photo opportunity in the service of his re-election, even holding the Bible upside down. The action that led to an apology from the chairman of the Joint Chiefs of Staff and an outspoken denunciation of the military for domestic political purposes from scores of former military leaders and secretaries of defense, led by Secretary Cheney. He thought he could stack the courts with friendly judges who would support him no matter what. They were Trump judges, his judges. Gone so far as to say he needed not justices on the Supreme Court because he thought the election would end up in the Supreme Court and they would hand him the election. He was stunned, truly stunned, when the judge he appointed didn't do his bidding, instead acted with integrity, following the Constitution, upholding the rule of law, not just once or twice or 3 times, but over 60 times. Let me say over 6 times. In more than 60 cases, in state after state after state. And the Supreme Court's judges and people considered, quote, his judges, Trump judges, use his words, looked at the allegations that Trump was making and determined they were without any merit. Nothing was just put this election in question or doubt by any of these judges. You want to understand the importance of democratic institutions in this country? Take a look at the judiciary in the nation. Take a look at the pressure it was subjected to by a sitting president of the United States of America. At every level, the judiciary rose to the moment during this election, did its job, acted with complete fairness and impartiality, with complete honor and integrity. When history looks back in this moment, it's just we've just passed through, I believe it will say our democracy served in no small part because of the men and women who represent an independent judiciary in this nation.
Folks, so look at this video here. Rex Chapman posted this video here, and I want you to see it. This is a Capitol Hill police officer waving folks in. His post says, "Is this Disney World? Is this Disney World?" I mean, like literally, watch this video. It makes no sense. It makes no sense. I mean, that's the kind of thing that we have seen all across the board, where people have so many questions and have been asking. Let's go to our panel. Reese Colbert, Black Women Views. Eric Savage Wilson, host of Savage Politics Podcast. Dr. Greg Carr, Chair, Department of Afro-American Studies, University. Erica, you served in the military. The woman who was shot and killed yesterday, who was trying to climb through a window, was shot by security forces. That she died. She also served in the military. These are who were sworn to protect the Constitution, uphold the Constitution, to defend this against all enemies, foreign and domestic. These people are the domestic enemies that oath was talking about.
Yeah, and Happy New Year to everyone. Yeah, I took that very same oath and took it very seriously. And we both served in the main branch, the Air Force. But this is really what we're seeing, chicks coming home to roost, when there's ignoring of FBI reports, a counterterrorism report that clearly line out the threat of supremacists not only infiltrating law enforcement, but also the military as well. So those same type of trainings that we would go through, one of which when we would have calls that would come, we always had to be on standby. We would have calls and they were exercises to make sure that we were able to muster to our appointed positions within a certain period of time, going out into the field, training in different terrain, training in different weather. These are the types of people that committed the act of insurrection on yesterday, combined with other civilians. So when we go back to that report that I noted that was given to the public back in October of 2006, when you start looking at just some of the bullet points, you don't even have to go into the report. It's about 10 pages long to include the cover page. But it clearly says that even looking at the law enforcement side of it, what the concerns of having white supremacists infiltrate law enforcement is law enforcement has understanding of access to these restricted areas. And so when you're seeing the guy that is waving in those white domestic terrorists into a building where the people business was being done, you're talking about hundreds of people that are in those buildings where our business was being done, that really could have been much worse than what it was. Now, not to say that some of the things that will unfold later won't be much worse, but just thinking about some of the carnage that could have happened, it could have been much worse. So we're really seeing some of the things that I think Black folks, Black media have been saying for the past 5-6 years, even going back to the candidacy of the son of a Klansman, that these are some of the things that we should be concerned about. And the fruit has been bared, particularly when you look at one of the other persons that died, 55-year-old white man out of Alabama, who had weaponry like the weaponry that I trained on when I was in the military.
I'm playing video right now, and Reese, it's amazing watching this. These are the people who are always talking about respect the police, back the blue, and you're seeing them trying to overpower. They're overpowering these cops. They are, but do you notice something here, Reese? At no point here they have knocked an officer on the ground. Okay, you see right here, this one guy he's grabbing two cops. At no point does anybody pull their gun out. Right. At no point. I mean. At no point do they not carry guns. I'm looking at guns. You cannot convince me that black people could storm a barricade, swing on the cops, and then you see how they got by, and they still walking. This is, at the end of the day, they allowed white people to do things that they would never allow black people to do.
absolutely. I mean, we have never seen images of white people being hosed and gunned down. I shouldn't say never. Let me say in contemporary times, okay? In the past several decades. We haven't seen the same images and the brutality against white people that we've seen against black people doing peaceful protesting. So this is not a surprise. I think that as a society, we've said it's unacceptable to inflict the kind of violence on white people, even when they are instigating it, even when they are rioting and doing this kind of behavior. You see how they act when they win the championship for their college team, or their hockey team wins the championship. They out there flipping over cars, acting a damn fool. So this is how they've been trained to interact with white people. So it's not a surprise doing that. So you have the fact that number one, don't feel as empowered to to use brute force against white people, but then you have people that are aiding and abetting them as well, because they're on the side of white supremacists. They're sympathetic to their cause. And then you have the fact that this was a strategic abdication. I don't want to call it a failure, because we don't know how intentional or unintentional that so-called failure is. So I call it an abdication of the responsibility of the U.S. Capitol Police, Stephen A. Sund, who was silent until today about what happened. When you see that there are reports that 20-something% of the force was activated, you have every single member of Congress on the Hill, including the vice president-elect, and you don't activate every force, you don't activate every strategic thing, even if you didn't have Trump people. We spend all this money, we go to the airports, we take our shoes off, we have to take our laptops out, we have all these threats in this country, and yet you don't even protect a joint session of Congress with these incredibly important people. That's a strategic abdication of responsibility. And we need to understand where those calls came from. I'm sick of hearing people talk about Muriel Bowser and what does she do, because they don't understand basic ass civics, which is that the Capitol is federal and that and U.S. Capitol Police have exclusive jurisdiction over that. And they did not call upon the D.C. Metro Police or the D.C. National Guard until hours after this riot, this melee, this insurrection started. So we need to get to the bottom of that. And I want to know what Trump's involvement is, because reports are he refused to authorize the National Guard, and that authorization came from Mike Pence, which should have come from Donald Trump. I want to know what kind of orders were given in advance, because something in the milk ain't clean here. I've been to the Capitol. I was there the first day of impeachment. You have to go through multiple steps of security. You can't bring your phones in. You can't bring your phone in. So for this level of catastrophic breach, that something is happening there that's a little bit more than what it seems. And we need to get to the bottom of it ASAP.
I agree with that. Dr. Greg Carr, here we go to my pad. The union for the United States Capitol Police, they are calling for the resignation of the chief as well as top leadership brass. It says the Capitol Police Officers Union is calling for leadership change at the highest level, including the chief of police of U.S. and Sund. Command staff include his assistant of police. Quote, I'm incredibly proud of the individuals who's protected the lives of 100 members of Congress and their staff. Once the Capitol building was inevitable, live property leading people to safety. Not one member of Congress or their injured. Our officers did their jobs. Our leadership not. Our law enforcement us remarkable. Now, here's what's interesting. Just a few moments ago, actually, I'm looking at another tweet here. It looks like a Sund, according to MSNBC, Sund has announced he is going to resign his position. Smart job.
Good.
Also, what you have here is just so we also understand what's going on here, Greg, to show you how police officers are in bed with Donald Trump.
Yes.
And how, in terms of how they view this whole deal, they are in. Check this out. The police chief, the president of the Chicago Police Union, John Catanzara, he really said with these. He said, quote, if the worst crime here is trespassing, but to call these people is beyond ridiculous. Here you have the union president of Chicago saying, big deal. In fact, let me pull the story up. This quote is amazing, Greg, but it's not shocking. Quote, there was no arson. There was no burning of anything. There was looting. There was very little property. It was a bunch of people that feel an election was stolen how some way. Now check this out, Ed. He then repeated the lying claim that the election was stolen, and then proof. Any doubt that something shady happened, you're not going to me that many people voted for Joe Biden. Never for the rest of my life will you ever convince me of that. And still comes down proof. Well, Don made his Twitter account private. Now, here's the other deal. 50 officers were injured. 4 folks died. But he said, oh, nothing bad happened. Bottom line is this here, Greg, and I think we saw it, and I can't wait for an investigation. This is the thing that black people have been saying, that you have police departments that are infiltrated with white supremacists, folks who remember militias. These people have badges and guns. And what we witnessed yesterday was it front and center, and they're going to have to answer some questions too. What happened? How did y'all allow folks just to walk on through?
Well, they're all going to have to answer questions, Roland. And Donald Trump just gave white nationalism the biggest gift, parting gift he could give them. This performative absolution that we're seeing right now, everybody's going to throw everybody overboard. When the police union calls for all the leadership of the police to resign, that should be your first clue. This is BS. And, let's just be very careful here, because nobody, like, as you said last night on the show, is surprised. We've been trying to tell you. Anytime you see Chuck Schumer, who found his voice thanks to all America's homies in Georgia, who made Mitch McConnell the minority leader since he couldn't deliver Maine, didn't put no money in Kentucky or Mississippi, and sat back, all of a sudden, Chuck Schumer's a hero. Everybody got to get fired. Everybody calm down. It's very Catholic right now. You see, everybody's confessing. Except there ain't going to be no priest to save you, and it ain't going to be no damn Hail Marys to save you, because what everybody is doing now is trying to divert attention from the fact that Donald Trump is the symptom. The sickness is whiteness. And you're absolutely right, Reese. There's strategic abdication going on right now. Those white people yesterday were white nationalists, and they were aided and abetted by their white nationalist friends in the police force. By the way, we all saw the brother who was chased by those white folks till he got, and you saw him kept going to his shoulder calling for backup that never showed up. And when he got up there with those other white cops for a split second, he hesitated. And I'm thinking, is he trying to figure out whether those cops going to go with them or go with him? But what we see is that this has been a coordinated attack. Now, I'm sorry, Joe. I'm sorry, Mr. President-elect. Every day up to 1865 was a darker day for us than anything that happened yesterday, and many of the days since 1865. So all this, we're better than this, whether it be you or Cory Booker talking about we brought this on ourselves. I ain't part of that we, bruh. And let me tell you about the white people who are not part of that we. Those white people in Portland that you sent the police in there and beat their ass, those are called race traitors to the white nationalists. So there are white people that get beat, and you send a whole hit squad to the West Coast to take out that left wing dude. So let's be very clear. Heads are going to roll because the people who don't want to be held accountable have been given, through Donald Trump, a gift-wrap way to claim that they were never part of it. Every last one of them people that's saying they're going to try to resign from the White House should be trapped in that building. John Empty Barrel Kelly saying, if I was there, I'd call for the 25th Amendment. Shut up. Hell no. All them, Kelly, or whatever, McEnany, Ashley, whatever her name is, gave a 2-minute press conference today. Everybody shut up. Elaine Chao, lock the door. Make her stay in there with them. Because what they're doing right now is trying to set it up to act like somehow they are the opposition in the last 10 minutes. I'll end with this. This is when we have to be very, very, very careful not to go for this okie doke. There is now a majority in Congress. Bill Bowles said at that same press conference today, the D.C. statehood legislation needs to move immediately. You need to give us control of our troops. Joe, why are you making all these, it's us, we're better than this. You better than that? Go tell your boy Manchin to stay in line. Get this in here. You and the vice president get in there and sign every last one of them bills before it turns warm outside. And then we'll know that you're not just engaged in some form of performative absolution, but you're serious about dealing with the cause of this white supremacy and not the symptom, which is Donald Trump. Because he just gave y'all a get out of jail free card and everybody trying to cash it in right quick. Nah, hell no. I'm not buying it.
I want to bring in right now retired Lieutenant General Russell Honore. Glad you're back on Roland Martin Unfiltered. General, Donald Trump, to Greg's point, said to these white supremacists, these white domestic terrorists, have free reign. I'm going to let you do whatever you want to do. I wouldn't be shocked, General, that the folks who get arrested, he gives them pardons before he leaves.
Well, worse than that, Roland. I think the police department at the Capitol was complicit. I've dealt with those people when I was in the Pentagon on the Joint Chiefs staff, and we used to provide military civil authorities for inauguration and major events at the city of Washington. And that's a well-oiled machine. And what we saw yesterday, the Capitol Police decisions in coordination with the Sergeant of the Senate and the Sergeant at Arms in the House. At yesterday o'clock, I called for all of them to be, and that is starting. They're starting to fire them. But that was complicit. There's people inside the chain of command of that Capitol Police that allowed this to happen. I went in Capitol Roland as 3 general, 3 stars on shoulder in full uniform, and them asses took a lighter from me. You understand? They simply applied the law, and they allowed these in yesterday, and they destroyed a good part of our house. And to go to jail, and need a DOJ investigation, this bullshit Congress investigation, and we need to hold people up. We need to catch all their phones. There are rooms to in that Capitol to go in and out. I never know how you get away to some of these rooms. So they will help inside the force, and you can assume about 30 of that force support the guy else. That's just the Democrats. And the system failed yesterday.
And that point you made there, again, which is the concern of black people, and that is when you have the law enforcement, you have these individuals who hold the same views. They're very conservative. They are opposition to Black Lives Matter, in opposition to civil rights. And we witnessed it yesterday. But also what we witnessed, General, was you had this man, you had Donald Trump, you had Rudy Giuliani. They were inciting a riot. Look, I think you tweeted, they should, or someone posted that Donald Trump, Rudy Giuliani, and Donald Trump Jr. should be arrested for causing an insurrection.
Absolutely. I mean, all the law in D.C., you tell me they can't figure it out? They can't figure it out because they don't figure it out. Okay? They're so long until the 20th of January, and Lord knows what this guy could do. That last night on the program, this guy still got access to the nuclear code. And he's going around telling his followers, you remember when he told the Proud Boys, I'll call you forward, stand down? He unleashed them yesterday and basically sent them to go attack the building where the vice president and his family was and the entire United States government, House and Senate. He unleashed the Proud Boys on there, and they got there and they were welcomed by the Capitol Police. Half of them some bitches ought to be fired.
The woman who was shot and killed, I do want to speak because this is also an issue here. Her name is Ashley Babbitt. Interesting, the U.S. Capitol Police officer shot and killed her has been placed on administrative leave. We showed the video and actually posted the video. You actually see what took place. The reason I'm not going to show it, we got basically the YouTube algorithm. We had about 16,000 people on yesterday. They kicked us off, and so I don't want to, knock up line again. We got 10,000 who are on right now. I don't want to do that. But it was barricaded. She jumps up and she's trying to climb through the window. An officer fires a shot, shoots her in the neck. She dies. But if you look at a lot of her crazy videos, she served in the military. And she's ranting and yelling, going off how this country has been stolen. And that's also part of the members of the military who were yesterday with Trump people as well.
Yeah, you got a bounty. And as hard as I, as an institution in the military, diversity, inclusion, and we're going to have our African-American Secretary of Defense, us are people who think more like the demonstrator yesterday, and in their mind, some idea that the election was what they really are about. Now, the Democrats on the White House, the Senate, and the House. And they're worried they will lose their white power. They're worried about losing minority rule in 30 to 40 years. America is changing. And that is, I believe, a lot of the believers talk to, the code they talk in, Roland. They don't like the founding of America.
General, from your perspective, what next? Because here's what I keep saying. These white domestic terrorists, they're not going anywhere. These people are going to cause more mayhem. There's going to have to be a lot more vigilance. There's going to have to be, a lot more focus. And this is where, and here's the other deal. I mean, you still have not had a major news conference from the FBI. You have not. This is why Donald Trump is so dangerous. He is literally preventing the federal government from investigating what they should be doing this year. You cannot convince me under any other president that if there was an insurrection on the day the Congress was in session, the House and the Senate, you would not have someone coming out talking to the American people, giving an update. They found 2 explosive devices near the Democratic National Committee, Republican National Committee. There was one guy who was arrested with 11 Molotov cocktails. These people were hell-bent on overthrowing the government yesterday.
Roland, there's an old preacher, country preacher down I come from in Lake Louisiana, used to talk about when bad things happen. How do we disaster and use it from until what happened yesterday in the full view of the world and America with the use of the internet and these phones, it took the sheet off a bunch of people proclaiming themselves to be conservative, and what they are racist. It took the sheet off. And in a way, it happened. I wish it hadn't happened. But the fact that the way it was documented, and it was focused on the people's house with the Senate and the House in session, we probably will extend the life of our democracy another 100 years because of yesterday, because it exposed the mess that's been going on at Mar-a-Lago, all these other places these folks often do their planning, that racism is driving the political future of this country, and we have an opportunity with all 3 branches of government to do something about it.
Well, I believe you're absolutely right. And people have asked me this, General. People have said, Roland, we saw yesterday what was the initial response, and I was as General, mild. I said, good. Because I needed white folks in America to see white folks in America doing what white folks in America have done since inception of this country. They can't sit here and say it was the blacks. Can't say, oh, it's the browns. No. They had to be forced to see it. And all of these Republicans who have stood with these people, who have explained them away, who have supported them, who have taken photos with them, they now have to answer, which side are you on? Which side are you now on? And so there's no separating here. There's no separating whatsoever. They're going to have to answer that. And that to the point that you just made, did the same thing. We always knew it. Black folks, we always knew it. But white America had to see the hatred for themselves. And now they got to decide who you going to roll with. Them or us?
Yeah, they have used this, they stole what they're worried of losing majority, Roland. Saw what happened in Georgia, what happened in Pennsylvania and other places when people got out and they were organized. And now we've got an opportunity just to change the direction a little bit. Because this is a work in progress. There is so much evil that has had 6 months. And we're doing it in the middle of a pandemic. Now, it's routine now to lose 4,000 people. We got to get back on that. And yesterday was a spreader event. They're all going back to towns now and taking even more COVID back. And we got to get past inauguration. And my recommendation to some of the people on the Biden staff is let's get done with the inauguration. This is a big focus on donors and balls. To hell with all that. Make sure you got your acting Secretary of Defense walking in the Pentagon at 1 o'clock. You're acting Home Security. You're acting J. And you're acting FEMA. All people need to walk in those buildings and take in as soon as the inauguration is over, so we got control of the government and all those Trump people leave.
I agree 100%.
I'll wait overnight. I'm sorry.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. I agree, sir. Retired Lieutenant General Russell Honore, we appreciate it. Thanks a lot.
Bless you.
Yes, sir. I want to bring in now my guest is an expert on this whole issue of terrorism. He is the director of the Safe Community Institute, University of Southern California, Dr. Errol Southers. Doc, how you doing?
I'm doing great, Roland. How you doing, Frat?
Glad to see you, my Alpha brother. Greg Carr's with us as well, a fellow Alpha. Here's the deal, real simple here, Doc, and that is this here. This is white domestic terrorism. These are not protesters. This is not a mob. These are not people who are pissed off. These are not people who are disappointed. These are terrorists, and they should be treated like terrorists. If this was 10,000 Muslims, you would have a completely different perspective on media, on Fox News, on radio, and in Congress.
Roland, you're absolutely correct. So let's just go to the heart of this. What a privilege it is to stand outside of the Capitol. What a privilege it is to scale the walls. What a privilege it is to break windows, to occupy the halls of Congress, to take over offices. You know, people always want to push back when you try to explain white privilege. And when they see this, they just totally ignore it. This incident yesterday was reminiscent of Charlottesville on steroids on a number of accounts. But to your point, this is terrorism. And I push back against those people who say we need another statute for domestic terrorism. No, we don't. We have over 50 different elements of the United States Code, Title 18, that you can charge someone with terrorism today. We choose not to do it. You are absolutely correct. Yesterday's terrorists have been ethnic or religious minorities. The response and the preparation would have been different. I'll push even further. The response to protecting the Lincoln Memorial when Black Lives Matter was there this summer was demonstrably different than what you saw yesterday. So we can get into it, but there are a lot of failures that took place in Charlottesville that also took place yesterday, and there's no excuse for it because the intelligence that was out there and available was ignored by law enforcement. And to the point of your previous guests, we had a report, and as you know, I'm a former FBI agent. 15 years ago, the FBI produced a report that was heavily redacted that documented the infiltration of law enforcement by white supremacists and white nationalists, and nobody wanted to see it. And what they did see was very, very little. We haven't left that issue yet, and it's even worse.
The next step, there's going to have to be, and I think back to COINTELPRO, but Congress is going to have to deal with a massive amount of surveillance of these people. The problem here, Doc, is that I believe that these people are aided by Republican political leaders. So we're dealing with, I mean, this is really, the FBI said that the biggest problem facing America, the biggest threat is going to be this white domestic terrorism. We have to understand, this is white domestic terrorism that is united with Republican political leaders, that's united with police officers, and it comes down to who the hell do we trust?
Great point. So, and to your point about COINTELPRO, let's face it, when the FBI investigated civil rights issues, it wasn't because they wanted to, they had to. So what you're seeing now is an FBI that, of course, has been demonized by this current administration called the deep state. However, they have the resources, and I believe they have the political will to do the right thing. I'm disappointed that here we are again dealing with Black identity extremism. And by the way, I testified in front of the Congressional Black Caucus a year and a half ago, looking back against that. Director Wray withdrew it and says, we're not going to do that. Now I'm looking at a document 2 weeks ago that says essentially the same thing without the title. So you're absolutely correct. We've got some work to do. But I will say this, that the infrastructure is there. The thwarted plots to kidnap the Michigan governor and the governor of Virginia were done because the FBI can do what they need to do. There has to be a purge of some individuals or group in law enforcement. We all know that. There has to be some cleansing with regard to perhaps the Congress. But more importantly, I do believe we have the infrastructure. What it's going to take is the will. And I think you're absolutely correct. Let's face it. When the Obama administration was in power, there were 14 different consent decrees, police departments in the country. In the 4 years of administration, there were 0. You don't have to be a research data analyst to understand what's going on there. So we're going to have a Department of Justice, the right Attorney General, enforce the law. And we're going to have to take a hard look. We've got the technology, we've got the personnel. It's a matter of political will.
Dr. Errol Southers, man, thank you so very much for joining us.
My pleasure, brother.
Yes, sir. Erica, here's the deal here. This is very simple. Will this government be willing to go after white like they historically have gone after black people? That's the real issue here. The President-elect Joe Biden and Vice President-elect Kamala Harris, they are going to have to make it perfectly clear to the country that there's going to be zero tolerance, and they are going to go after every single one of these white domestic terrorist thugs who stormed the U.S. Capitol.
Answer, in my view, is no. That's largely going to lay now at the feet of the Attorney General that be incoming, the one that President-elect Biden has nominated and put forth, Merrick Garland. The people that I really have some level of confidence in are those women who have been working within civil rights as civil rights lawyers for quite some time. That's the assistant, who is Kristen Clark, friend of the show, someone that you know well, and also Benita Goop, also a friend of the show, someone else that you know very well. Outside of that civil rights division that will be formed up with the Department of Justice, which unfortunately on yesterday was subject to a hack, which is, really not a coincidence, looking at who this person is that's currently in office. That there's going to be a lot of cleaning up to do, but I just don't have the faith that, number one, that there'll be any level of accountability. There will probably be some people that will, be put before the public square, so to speak, accountability, but not at the length we've seen people who have been prosecuted and thrown into unmarked vans, questioned, who were real protesters that were protesting injustices, the people, black folks that are dying at the hands of state taxpayer service. So to go back to your question, again, I do not have any faith in that. I think that's where an engaged citizen comes to effect that, even with everything that we are facing, the general talked about, we had 4,000.
Actually, Erica, I got to interrupt you real quick here. I got 3 members of Congress who are on the line right now. Congressman Tim Ryan of Ohio, Congresswoman Johanna Hayes of Connecticut, Congresswoman Brenda Lawrence of Michigan. Congressman Ryan, you're with one of the committees that you've been talking about this oversight, investigating Capitol Police. The Capitol Police chief has resigned. The union is calling for his top brass to resign as well. We're seeing videos where literally Capitol Hill police officers were waving protesters in, taking selfies. Do you, as a member of Congress, Congressman Ryan, have any faith whatsoever in Capitol Police right now protecting people's house?
There's a big gap, the trust level now, and it's something that we got to fix immediately. We have the vast majority of the rank and file guys did a good job yesterday, but they were set up for failure. I mean, we did not have the backup. They did not have the personnel needed. We did not have the National Guard teed up, ready to go. This was a failure in leadership, not necessarily a failure for the vast majority. I saw the same videos everyone else did, taking selfies and all the rest. And believe me, we're going to be looking into that as well. But the reality is this was a failure from the top down, a complete abdication of their responsibility to protect us as members of Congress, our staff, and most importantly, the process of electing our president.
Congresswoman Hayes, give us a sense of what it was like to be in the House yesterday while this was going on and when y'all got the order to evacuate.
Well, I was in my office and I had my son with me, and I kept telling him that everything was fine. He could clearly hear the crowds outside. His friends were texting him images of what was going on, and he was afraid. And I was afraid because I didn't have an answer for him. And we kept getting updates that, to move to an internal location, that suspicious packages had been discovered. And it was scary. I mean, on this campus, I don't really think about my safety because I feel like the police keep us safe. I've traveled with them. They do a tremendous job. And yesterday they were under-resourced. And I'm sorry if I'm distracted, but there's just a story came across that a Capitol police officer died following one of the protests, following the activities yesterday. So this is crazy. This is the United States Capitol. Then this should not be happening here.
Congresswoman Lawrence, when we talk about what took place yesterday, y'all have really had to deal with that in Michigan, where these folks stormed the Michigan House. And then they, of course, they discovered the plot to kidnap the governor of Michigan. We've seen, and Donald Trump called for these folks to essentially do these things in Michigan. What is shameful here, Congresswoman Lawrence, is you literally have people like Donald Trump and Rudy Giuliani, Congressman Louis Gohmert, endorsing these folks committing acts of violence against the United States.
So yesterday, I was on the floor when they came in to evacuate us, told us to get on the floor and get behind the seats on the floor to pull out the gas mask. Then we heard they said they have breached the Capitol and they're on their way over here. And we saw them, we're sitting there trying to figure out how to put a gas mask on. And they had taken Nancy was on the floor. And this is why Nancy has asked for the resignation for the person who's in charge of the floor and also the chief of police. And we went from trying to hide on the floor to them calling us and telling us to run and to go to another place. So it was over 50 members, Republicans included, on the floor. And it was really unbelievable. And now we have the opportunity finally for some of these people to wake up. Because I can tell you repeatedly, my Republican constituents and people I talk to say, oh, Brenda, don't get so upset about what he says. That's just Trump. Don't worry about it. He's just talking. But the reality is that his words, because he's speaking from the highest seat of power in America, they made a difference. And yesterday, the entire country was slapped in the face with the reality of Donald Trump's impact on America, because those thugs and mobs came in to stop our democracy. And that's something that's lost on a lot of people. Yes, they were mobs, they were looting, they were vandalous, and they were violent, but they were there to stop democracy. And they were looking for us to make sure that we did not certify the election. And, we had been through all that trauma. For me to have to put on a gas mask and try to hide behind a chair, to Nancy Pelosi saying they will not stop us. We are going to the floor. And we were voting till 4:00 in the morning to certify those votes.
This is the thing, Congressman Ryan. I'm about to read this tweet here. This is one of these folks. The protests today were peaceful for the most part. There were some people that breached the Capitol, but other than that, minimal skirmishes. I am proud to be a deplorable. We take our house anytime we want without violence. I mean, and what you're dealing with here, Congressman Ryan, that to the point that Congresswoman Lawrence just made, is that when people kept saying, and especially, and I'm just going to be as clear as possible, these sorry-ass people in mainstream media, oh, it's Trump. Kathleen Parker writes a column. Hey, it's not going to be that bad. Things like those. Maureen Dowd, all these people, they acted like this was a damn game. And I told folks, I was on ABC News, Congressman, 5 years ago. I was on 5 years ago, and I literally said this was going to happen. And all of these people wanted to play footsie with him. In fact, I'm going to play this soundbite for y'all because, again, this is February 21st, 2016.
They invited evil in, and now evil is taking over. Okay, 2009, the night of Obama's inauguration, we will stop him at every turn. They love the Tea Party anger. They took advantage of it in 10 and 12 and 14. They always said we can control it, we can harness it. Now all of a sudden, Trump is taking advantage of it. He led the whole birther deal. The Republican establishment at some point has to say, you know what? We played with fire, and now it's about to consume us. They have to accept some blame.
The Republican establishment never played.
And you heard Sarah, Congressman Ryan, say the Republican establishment never played with fire. Yes, they did.
No, they mostly did. And I tell you what we saw in the last days, which I know my colleagues witnessed too with great interest, is all of the members after it happened, all of the members who said, we condemn the violence. And we're giving these beautiful statesmen-like speeches, Ben Sass and the guys. But the reality of it is they emboldened him. They threw gas on this fire. All of these 4 years, they looked they accepted it. They backed him up, even down to the end with the vote count. They continued to perpetuate this fraud. And then Ben Sass yesterday, I was listening to him, and he's going on and on about how rise above and all this. He was kissing Trump's ass because he was afraid Trump was going to get involved in his primary 2 years ago and beat him in a primary, and he was afraid of that, so he kissed Trump's rear end, and then after, he got through his reelection and he got back in the Senate for 6 years, now he wants to be a statesman. I've got no interest in that. I'm not impressed at all, and the reality of it is that guys have done, and they continue to do. And one last thing here, as we're talking about this, impressed with all these eyes over and Howley, Cruz, and guys who have some of the degrees, people in the country from the best institutions they have, and they weaponize that education, and they're under to try to manipulate average people like this is actually a fraud, actually believe what they're saying, and they try to use that. I think they're a bunch. I think we've got to be very candid. If we're going to heal this country, we've got to be candid, and we got to pull the weeds out and make sure we heal this time, not just put a band on something.
Congressman Tim Ryan, I surely appreciate it, sir. Thank you very much for joining us. Congresswoman Jahana Hayes, I'm showing video right now. These people were live streaming video, sitting at the conference table in the offices of members. They ransacked offices. They were sitting here going through the mail of Speaker Nancy Pelosi, taking pictures with their feet propped up on her desk. One of these individuals was caught carrying out a podium that said House Speaker on it. I mean, what we saw was sheer thuggery. And now we're seeing the police union president in Chicago say, well, not much was done. Nothing really significant happened. These people were simply frustrated. To listen to Republicans make excuses for these people. Now you have one of your colleagues, Mo Brooks of Alabama, who is absolutely nuts himself, saying, well, no, these were not, well, this was Antifa. Now you have Lindsey Graham, who wants to say, well, if Democrats, if you want to condemn these people, then you must condemn Black Lives Matter protesters. Give me a break.
What happened here yesterday is unjustifiable. It doesn't matter who it was. First of all, we know who was here yesterday. We know, the Proud Boys, their leader had been arrested. The president called a coordinated effort, asked people to meet him in D.C. on January, gave them a directive in the morning to walk up to the Capitol and make their voices heard. But let's be clear. We're not just talking about an office building here. This is the center of our institution of government. This is where the people's business happens. So breaching this means so much more. Coming here and desecrating, denigrating the Capitol, making this place unsafe to do business has much greater implications. People have a right to protest, and we've seen that over and over where people are elevating their voices. But for my colleagues then to come back and then continue to object to the Electoral College, to try to justify or place blame or figure out who it was. It doesn't matter who was on this hill yesterday. The violence that happened here is inexcusable, was incited by the president, was emboldened by the president, and has not been denounced by the president. Hard stop. So anything that they're trying to do to justify it, to explain it away, they too should be held accountable for that.
Congresswoman Johanna Hayes of Connecticut, we surely appreciate it. Thank you so very much.
Thanks,
Roland. For you, thank you very much. Last, and glad that you're safe. Congresswoman Brenda Long, we have seen folks call for the invocation of the 25th Amendment. I just got a text that said Vice President Mike Pence, his staffers have made it clear he does not believe in that. I really believe Congress should move, the House should move to impeach Donald Trump immediately, force the United States Senate to take a vote, and if the force Republicans to the record, because man is dangerous. We do not know the hell that this man may unleash over the next 13 days. He is unstable. He is crazy. He is demented. He is out of his mind. And Lord knows what he will do to the United States over the next 13 days. I care about him being banned on Twitter and Facebook. This man still has control of the nuclear codes.
Yes.
He watched with glee what happened yesterday. He called on these people to march to the Capitol. He gave the order. He gave the order and they followed it. And I think you force these Republicans to vote. And the other point is this: if Republicans had the courage to vote in order to remove him, to actually impeach him, he would be barred from running for office again.
I absolutely 100% amen. You're preaching right now to the choir. I have put out a statement that we and Nancy Pelosi, who drug her feet to impeach Donald Trump, she is so infuriated by what happened, because this was like a slap in the face. Everyone who tried to ignore him, say just, he goes low, we go high, that crap. This man is dangerous. And I truly support the 25th Amendment. I saw Pence moving and making statements. Because, the other thing that a lot of people don't realize, Pence was in the Capitol. Nancy Pelosi was in the Capitol. So the second and third two in line to the president were in danger. And Pence was very angry yesterday. Because you know what? His life was on the line. But we saw that so many people now have had to come out with these fake statements to Republic. Well, we denounce what happened. But the reality is you didn't do it soon enough. It's exactly what you said, Roland. Year after year, day after day, week after week, we have been saying this man is destroying our democracy. He riled those people, incited a riot, then got in his armor-protected car and rode back to the White House and turned on the TV, and I'm sure enjoyed it. And did you the thing that infuriated me during his tenure, this thing about the flag. Did you see that mob take down the United States flag, take it down and hoist the Trump flag? Now and he called them patriots. I mean, that's a big deal to them. And here he is, everything that he claims he's for has been contradicted. And all of these Republicans sticking their head in the sand, and I could say somewhere else, ignoring what the reality is. This is not a joke. I was sitting there in that room hearing these people banging on the door, trying to get in the chambers, wondering if my life was going to end. Nancy was right. We were not going to let them stop. We certified the vote. If nothing else happened, we will get rid of him on the 20th, but I believe that 13 days is too long. It's too much he can do, and the man is sick. I don't want to, they say don't speak ill of the dead. I'm not going to say he's crazy, but he is sick. He needs to be taken out of office, all that power taken away from him. Let him sit in his little Oval Office if he wants to, but take his powers away because our country, we're in danger.
You're absolutely right. Congresswoman Brenda Lawrence of Michigan, we certainly appreciate it. Thank you so very much. And glad
Roland,
that
I
you
just
two
want
are
to
safe.
say thank you. I didn't get a chance to say thank you for everything you did in Detroit to bring out the vote. You were part of the team of success, and that's why we flipped Michigan. Thank you.
I appreciate it. Thank you so very much. Let's go back to my panel here. Reese Colbert, Savage Wilson, and Greg Carr. Greg, I want to be you. The point that the Congresswoman made, and it wasn't lost. I saw the video yesterday, and we're playing it right now. I think back to all of trash talking Trump and all these folks had to say about Colin Kaepernick. And for them to literally take down a U.S. flag and to hoist a Trump flag, that said exactly who these people have an allegiance to.
Roland, this is all theater. And I can't stress this enough. What Tim Ryan said basically is probably all it needs to be. People can argue about flags. They can argue about the scenes that we've seen. The simple fact of the matter remains that 14 United States senators and most of the House of Representatives on the white nationalist party side want to overthrow the election if they could. So the people who stormed the Capitol make easy targets. The real targets are the people inside. Josh Hawley, as we heard Ryan say, Ted Cruz, who are going to be involved in what we saw in those speeches yesterday was the first speeches of the 2024 presidential nomination contest on the Republican side. Chinless Tom Cotton figured the odds and decided to keep his powder dry on the other side. But Chinless Josh Hawley and chinless Ted Cruz decided to throw their lot in because they're fighting over the Trump supporters, understand. So Coach Tuberville, all those folks, they decided they're angling to become the Trump of 2024 because there's going to be a 2024 Trump, whether it's Donald Trump or better Donald Trump, which means smoother Donald Trump. Now, after what happened, you had a few of them who really don't have a political future, like the close to billionaire Kelly Loeffler, who was retired by Erica and them down there where you are right now. You know, in the words of Mobb Deep, there ain't no such thing as halfway crooks. Scared to death, scared to look. You shook. So what happened is you backed up. You ain't a crook, son. You just a shook one. So she stood up and said, I'm out. But Josh Hawley doubled down. And if you saw Connor Lamb, because we all stayed up to 4 o'clock in the morning watching Congresswoman Lawrence and them, if you saw Connor Lamb, they damn near came to throw hands in the middle of the night because those white nationalists are not only not going to back up, Ryan nailed it. They are going to be emboldened. Finally, this is a moment when they are going to try to use this to say, those white nationalists, we all condemn it. Mitch McConnell on the right side, Lindsey Graham on the right side. And if they can get past this moment in 2022, Ron Johnson is saying, I don't know whether I'm going to run in Wisconsin, Pat Toomey trying to, I'm out. So the Republicans are going to try to act like they are not responsible for those people that stormed. And they're going to say everything the Democrats are saying, which is why Ryan is saying, do not let them escape. And which is why the President of the United States, the Vice President of the United States, the cabinet, I'm with Erica, Merrick Garland, come on, man. Merrick Garland cut his eye teeth. If you read any of his opinions, so he's on the D.C. circuit, if you read those opinions, you'll find he's very friendly to law enforcement. But I trust Kirsten Clark. That's right, Erica. I trust Vanita Gupta. That's right, Erica. So therefore, while Garland is making nice, because this is what Joe Biden is doing, I should say I said it's going in, but I'll say one more thing. Linda Sarsour said this the other night. Politicians aren't your friends.
Come on.
So we now have our best opponents in the White House. Now we can be friendly, but we ain't gonna make this about flags and we're better than this and we got to stop. No, okay, that's very nice. Now set that aside. We want every last one of these policy things to go forward, or we're gonna break your back like we did to open white nationalists. That's it. We can't. Don't get caught up in the theater. Please don't get caught up in the theater.
Reese, as we've heard, as Johanna Hayes said, a U.S. Capitol police officer has died following this riot. Also, when you talk about how folks are responding, Simon & Schuster, they have announced that they will not, they have canceled a book to be published by Missouri Senator Josh Hawley. His book was supposed to be called Tyranny of Big Tech. Not going to get published by them. Here's the thing that I think also is really important in terms of where we stand. You have to make the people pay. You have to make them pay at every turn. You have to deny them of everything. That is the only way you are to deal with these people. They must everything.
There'll be a temporary setback for somebody like Josh Hawley, but they have new media popping up. They have the OAN network. They have these massive other networks, and in some ways it almost makes them a martyr. When there's a mainstream backlash to that. So I completely agree with you that there needs to be consequences, and to some degree we did show that there were some consequences down there in Georgia with the wins of Ossoff and Warnock, which was historical wins that were temporarily. We had very temporary celebrations for that. But the reality is that this country just does not have the stomach for accountability for white supremacists. I mean, we just don't. And, Erica sent me, a tweet about the fact that Trump is going to release a statement. What this is all about now is you have some of these resignations, which, to be clear, are about safety and physical self-preservation. I don't think it's simply about image rehabilitation, because as Congressman Lawrence said, that American flag came down and that Trump flag went up. And they understand these people they don't have any protection from Trump, because Trump is one man for himself, and he is quick to ban Mark Short. I heard that he had banned Mike Pence from White House. There's not enough fealty that you can show to Trump to satisfy these Trump people. And all those people in that Congress, whether you were a Democrat or whether you're a Republican, were equally as vulnerable from those Trump insurrectionists. And so they're trying to get the hell out of Dodge, because they don't know what Trump is going to do, and they don't know what these folks are going to do. But what Trump's strategy is, and what's always the strategy from the media, which shockingly a majority of them are saying insurrection and riot and this, that, and the other, and Democrats for once are on the right page of calling it what it is instead of beating around the bush, for the most part. What Trump's strategy is he's going to present a more conciliatory approach so that now the Biden, and I'm Team Kamala, but let's be honest, Biden and the Merrick Garlands will say, well, let's move on. We have to heal, and he's moving on, and all these other things. And so it's just it's offense to say that this is water under the bridge. What happened was an abomination. We're going to move forward as a country together. And that way you try to avoid these investigations. And this right now, it would be open season on Trump and his administration. So that's what Trump is doing right now. It's nothing but self-preservation. The media is going to fall for it, because there's nothing more that our media loves than to rehabilitate the image of any of these Trump people, of the Republican Party, and of white supremacists.
Yeah.
That's right.
Yep.
So just a few moments ago, this idiot Trump, once his ban on Twitter was unblocked, this fool dropped this. I wonder if this has anything to do with the 25th Amendment. Don't play his videos, but a moment like this, when you realize how easy man is, it's important to listen to the words. We're going to come back and break this down. Listen to this, frankly. Let me just say, listen to the Trump bullshit.
I would like to begin by addressing the heinous attack on the United States Capitol. All Americans, I am outraged by violence, loss, and mayhem. I immediately deployed the National Guard and Federal enforcement to secure and expel these. America is always be a nation of law and order. Demonstrators who infiltrate the Capitol have defied the seat of American democracy. To those who engage in the violence and you do not represent our country, and to invoke the law, you will. We have just been through an election, and the are high, but now must be cooled, calm, restored. We must get on with the business of America. Campaign vigorously pursue legal avenue. Test the election. My only goal was to the integrity of. In so doing, I was to defend democracy. I continue to strongly believe that we must reform our election law to verify the ID and eligibility of all, and to ensure faith and confidence in all future elections. Congress has certified the results. A new administration will be inaugurated on January 20th. My focus now turns to ensuring a smooth, orderly, and endless transition of power. This moment calls for healing and reconciliation. 2020 has been a challenging time for our people. A menacing pandemic has upended the lives of our citizens, isolated millions in their homes, changed our economy, and claimed countless lives. Defeating this pandemic and building the greatest economy on earth will require all of us working together. It will require a renewed emphasis on the civic values, patriotism, faith, community, and family. We must revitalize the sacred of love and loyalty that bind us together, one national family. To the citizens of our serving as your president has been the honor of my life, and to all of my supporters. I know you appointed, but I want you to know that our incredible journey is just beginning. Thank you. God bless you. Bless America.
Anybody want to comment on that, Ash?
The
was
lies you
excellent.
tell.
No, but that was excellent. In fact, you know what? I'll just say this very clearly. Reese, you're right. The impulse will be talk about healing, talk about, let's be very, very clear. Until that moment you showed that, Roland, I was kind of ambivalent about the idea of impeachment. And like we politicians aren't our friends. I like Ilhan Omar saying, I'm drawing up, and then she drew up the articles of impeachment. She's got some signatures. Here's why I now come down on impeach him. Because he's basically would be impeached for the same thing that he was impeached for the first time, except now, Mr. Ben Sass, I said, Ryan nailed it. This time, impeach him quickly, put it in the Senate, make those white nationalists stand up and remove him, and add this: ban him, bar him from ever running for public office. Because what we just saw, to Reese's point, is this man trying to set himself up so he might run again in 2024. Now I come down on the side of impeachment. I'm with Omar and them now. You got to do it. You got to get it to the Senate, and let's see in this moment if you can get him removed, because that's what he just set up. On it, man. I hadn't seen that.
Yeah. And the media.
Here's the deal, Erica. Erica, here's the deal. All right, you move on it. What you gonna do, Susan Collins? What you gonna do, Murkowski? What you gonna do, Romney? What you gonna do, Sass? That's 4 votes right there. That gets it done.
Roland, you already know what they're going to do. They're going to be deeply disturbed. This is really kind of sycophantic behavior and that kind of language that we continue to hear from these folks all these years. But to Reese's point about the whole rehabilitation piece and that the mainstream media is going to roll out really platform in order for this to be done. This is where, again, an engaged citizenry is going to call for people to have long political memories. You know, all of us here have been watching politics and paying attention to politics and engaged in politics for longer than 2016, and so has the RMU audience. But it's really going to be about not forget and bringing back up for people, refreshing feed, as Reese does with those palate cleansers on Twitter from time to time, bringing back up to people to let them know when you see a Ben Sass is going to inevitably write another book and, make himself like, kind of this 1950s dad where, gosh darn it, I just don't even know why, he did what he did. To remember that he is one, when you pull up his record, has voted with the son of a Klansman 90% of the time, that he has been in lockstep with him. When you think about Harrison, Mitch McConnell, that he is one that definitely said back in December of 2019, before this went to the Senate for a vote for his impeachment, for him to be out of office, that Mitch McConnell went on Fox News December 12th and said on Sean Hannity's show, listen, we are in lockstep with the White House. We are talking with White House counsel, and whatever it is that needs to be done to preserve the presidency, the illegal presidency of this person and his regime, we are going to, in effect, make sure to do it. Whatever the House does, they impeached it. So what? We have the power. We're going to make sure that he's acquitted. And that's exactly what the Senate did. Senate Republicans, did. So remember these people. You know, you have Paul Ryan's communications person that's going on talking about doing his media rounds about how deeply disturbed he is when Paul Ryan and that whole gang, the Ayn Rand gang, was in on this whole Donald Trump melee that we're all experiencing now. So everybody, you have to remember this time. Remember these players. Remember the people that helped to form what we see right now. And it goes beyond 2016. It's before 2016. And everything that we're seeing right now is not going to come to fruition in 2 years. We're going to see this happen in rapid fashion, like within this year and the next few months.
Reese, I'm clear. I don't trust any damn Republicans at all. I trust none of them. If there is a Republican who's with Donald Trump, knowing his craziness, I do not trust any of them on this.
Listen, I knew what he was going to say even before he's going to say it. Because Donald Trump, thing he is good at politically is he understands his audience. And his audience in that video was the mainstream media, the pundit class, the Republicans, the Mitt Romneys, and to a certain extent, Chuck Schumer. Like I said, Joe Biden, Merrick Garland. Like I said, it's no shade because, you know, whatever. I'm not going to go in on Joe because that's my guy now because, you know, Kamala's my girl. But let's be honest. That bought him the time that he needs. And all that these folks need is an excuse to move the hell on. The news cycle moves on. They're going to make a couple of symbolic arrests. They arrested a whopping 15 people. Okay? And they're gonna give people, put us on this cat and mouse chase. Oh, identify the white supremacists. They're going to keep us distracted a little bit, and they're going to move the hell on. That video bought him time. That video was for his base. And that video was to pre-rehabilitate his image and to remove the cover because it's very easy to remove the political will from people to really go balls to the walls against Donald Trump and say, leave it alone. Let's not investigate. Let's not do all this stuff. He's going to pull some more crazy shit before he leaves because he still has to pardon himself. Okay, so he's going to do that. But what it's just trying to do is trying to assuage people's concerns. Now the Republicans that are on their high horse, they're going to back off a little bit, and the Democrats are going to waver a little bit. They're not in Congress anyway, so they're drawing up articles of impeachment. You still need Nancy Pelosi and Chuck Schumer, well, Mitch McConnell to call them back to Congress. That's probably not going to happen, particularly after that video. So, I mean, I don't make any excuses for it, but we know what kind of society that we're living in. We're living in a society that's gotten us to this point because white supremacy has always been enabled. And when you put a nicer face on it, Josh Hawley, Ben Sass, and now Trump playing nice for now, everybody is very enthusiastic about moving on. So I think we'll give it a day, maybe two. And like I said, this cat and mouse chase and some other topic will come up and the news cycle will change. And our country, to be honest, has a very short attention span. I know, like Erica said, we need to have a long memory, but we don't. We're the same country that's fighting vaccines. We can't even get this goddamn COVID pandemic under control. He got 74 million votes. It was still close in Georgia, which it was a miraculous win, don't get me wrong. We don't have the people in this country to really make them pay the way they need to. So I hate to be Debbie Downer on the situation, but let's just be honest. Like I said on Wednesday or Tuesday, we have not defeated white supremacy. We've only bought ourselves a little bit of time, and white supremacy bought themselves a little bit more time with that Donald Trump video.
That's right.
You're absolutely right. All right, folks. Here's a piece. I'm going to go to a break in a second. I'm going to come back and talk to Dr. Chris Metzler about the 25th Amendment. Folks, right now, more than 12,000 of you watching us on YouTube, nearly 2,000 on Facebook. Yesterday, we hit our all-time high, 16,500 people watching simultaneously on YouTube. We created this platform as a way for us to be able to speak to our issues from our perspective, to have black experts like Dr. Southers, Lieutenant General Russell Honore, to be able to have two members of the CBC, to have Tim Ryan on. Coming up next, Chris Metzler. We need you to support what we do. Please join our Bring the Funk fan club. You can support us via Cash App, $RM Unfiltered, PayPal.me/R Martin Unfiltered, Venmo Martin Unfiltered, or Zelle is Roland at Roland S. Martin. Use a credit square by going to Roland Martin Unfiltered. You can also Order to New Vision Media, 1625 K Street Northwest, 100 Washington, D.C. And so we appreciate all of you who support what we do. If you, of course, you can join right there on YouTube or Facebook. But if you join directly with us, we get the full 100%. But if you join on Facebook or on YouTube, then we have to share the revenue 55-45 with those two platforms. So we prefer that you support us direct to join our Bring the Funk fan club because of the great things that we're doing. Messler's up next. I'm going to play this video. Greg referenced this. This was Congressman Conor Lamb last night when he called Republicans out on their lies. Ooh, they got a little bothered and hot under the collar. And so Democrats are like, y'all want to swing? Let's swing. Watch this.
Enough has been done here today already to try to strip this Congress of its dignity. And these objectors don't need to do any more. We know that attack today, it didn't materialize out of nowhere. It was inspired by lies, the same lies that you're hearing in this room tonight. And members who are repeating those lies should be ashamed of themselves. Their constituents should be ashamed of them. And we know what's going to happen as soon as I walk away, what's happened all night tonight, what will continue to happen, they will take these same symbols, these same concepts, they'll smuggle them into their arguments, they'll make the same arguments. And I want at home, anyone who is still watching to know the arguments are not for them, they're for you. None of the evidence we wanted to discuss here tonight will change their opinions or what they're about to say. But you need to know that's not the end. It's not as if there's nothing we can do because of that, and if there was, I don't think this nation waited to almost 250 years. The fact is, Madam Speaker, the fact is that at the end of the day, people...
Gentleman from Virginia. Gentleman say this point of order.
Someone will say his point of order.
Yes, ma'am. The gentleman said that there were lies on this floor here today. Looking over this direction, I ask that those words be taken down. We may have a disagreement on matters, but...
And it's not timely.
This side of the liars.
No, the gentleman was not timely. You didn't register at an appropriate time. We'll proceed.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Madam Speaker, the fact is that at the end of the day...
Yeah, look, you say that about me every single day.
The truth hurts.
Hold your tongue. The gentleman will proceed.
It hurts. It hurts them, this country, it hurts all of us. But the fact is that the people have made this country work by not giving in. Go ahead, shout it out. Say
the gentleman is not order. The gentleman will proceed. Proceed.
One last thing, Madam Speaker, and I thank you for your patience. All people need to know, all they know tonight, Madam Speaker,
the order in the House. There'll be order in the House. The gentleman clear this. The gentleman of the chamber. I'll proceed.
Madam Speaker, the truth hurts.
All right. Reason, y'all, we didn't see exactly what happened there because Congress controls the cameras when they're in session. There are only 3 cameras. There's the wide angle, the center camera. There's the camera that goes on where Republicans on their mic, and the other camera on the Democrats' mic. And so that's why you only see those 3 cameras. C-SPAN only is able to show those 3 cameras. The issue of the 25th Amendment has come up a lot. As I said, Vice President Mike Pence, according to his advisors, has said he's not going to move forward with that. So what exactly is the 25th Amendment and what could its impact be? Joining us right now is constitutional law expert Dr. Chris Messler. Chris, first and foremost, you are conservative, you're a Republican, you've seen all of this madness, what took place on yesterday. Surely you have to be embarrassed to watch these Republicans even still vote to accept the electors of Pennsylvania and Arizona after what took place yesterday. And it just makes no sense.
It makes absolutely no sense. And in fact, it was shameful. It was not, in my view, unexpected, though. But as we look at the Republicans who Well, let's start with the president. President clearly has blood on his hands because there was no reason whatsoever to call people to Washington on the 6th of January. He knew the reason that he was calling them there. He knew what they were going to do. So, in fact, he's aided and abetted that. That's number one. And after everything that happened, those members, those Republicans, both in the House and the Senate, who still raise those objections. I guess they think, oh, well, I'm going to get reelected. I don't need black folks, young folks, et cetera, voting for me. So whatever. And let me go specifically to Josh Hawley. First of all, as it relates to Josh, I hope everyone knows that he's raised a significant amount of money over his objections. And we should also know that he plans to run for office in 2024. Naked ambition. So it is what it is. And the folks who did what they did yesterday, that's not the Republican Party I know. But apparently, from my perspective, there is no Republican Party. It is a loose collection of factions. That's pretty much what you got.
For folks who don't, when these constitutional issues come up, people who don't really understand, most people haven't even read the Constitution. When you watch some of these movies, they give you the impression that all the cabinet officers have to sign a letter invoking the 25th Amendment. Is that true or not?
No, they don't all have to sign. What has to happen is the vice president gets a majority of them to say, we want to do that. Here's the problem with the 25th Amendment. It's probably, and particularly Section 4, the worst written part of the Constitution, which is why it's rarely ever used or invoked. Here's the problem. All that will happen is that, in fact, the vice president would say, and that certain portion of the cabinet would say, the president is incapacitated. Okay, but here's what happens after that. The president then can write a response and say, no, I'm not. And at that point, Congress has 21 days to resolve that. So in this particular case, it will go nowhere relative to the 25th Amendment. And keep in mind, the president can ban anyone from the White House. So it's not like they can trot up there and give him this and say, get out. That's not how this works.
So when you say incapacitated, that means that, so if he says, I'm not, now they actually have to prove it. Now there has to be some process. So in essence, some evidentiary hearing to determine that.
Yeah, and that will take place in 21 days. So as a practical matter, by that time, he'd already be out of office. Now, the worst case scenario that can happen is you can have dueling presidents. So, for example, Pence can say, yes, I determined that you're incapacitated, and so I'm acting as president. Then he says, Trump says, no, I'm not. I'm still president. So it's, the 25th Amendment really isn't explained as much as it should be explained so that folks understand it's not as easy as it sounds.
So, and for all the people who keep talking about it, again, you're talking about a very short period of time. So the quickest way to get rid of the president is really to impeach him in the House. I mean, they literally, now even on that, do they have to have a certain time frame? So for instance, can the House literally in one day impeach Trump? Can the Senate actually have a one-day hearing and vote to convict or to acquit?
Yeah, they can do that. They can do that. There's no time period to do that. The problem is what will happen in this case is the obstructionists will obstruct that process. But technically, yes, they can do that. they can call everyone back and say, listen, we're going to do this in one day. This is the time. You're not leaving here until this is done in 24 hours. They can do that. As a practical matter, I don't think that's going to happen, but they could do it.
Dr. Chris Metzler, we certainly appreciate it, man. Thank you so very much.
My pleasure. Take care.
That's why I want to go to Erica here. Erica, this is why I love it. All of these media folks today have been, oh my God, Chuck Schumer's come out and saying, invoke the 25th Amendment, and it's going on and on and on, the next person, next person, next person. But it ain't that simple. This whole notion that the 25th Amendment is just like this magic bullet. Yeah, if he simply says, I'm not incapacitated, it's upon what? Are you telling me I have dementia? I have Alzheimer's? That I'm sick? No, I'm in great health. All right, now what do you do? And so, look, the real deal is, to me, put for impeachment and conviction.
Yep. Yeah. And, you know,
which means if he gets convicted, he can't run for president again.
Exactly. And I'm glad you're repeating that, because that just needs to be repeated over and over, so it really does marinate into the frontal lobe of everyone's mind. That is what's going to have the most effect. You know, Reese just laid it out for us a few moments ago, what this propaganda that we've seen that's now posted on Twitter is all about. It is about him continuing to be able to maintain the power that he has within the cult that he has created, right? And so when we look at what mainstream media has done with their participation in reforming the Frankenstein that they have before them, allowing him to call into shows, giving him carte blanche, explaining him away, doing the J.D. Vance, the hillbilly elegy profiles, breathless profiles over and over again over the folks that support him. Whatever the easiest fix is, whatever it is that they can get into the minds of the people that do consume these multi-alphabetic letter shows, to really just kind of say, this is something that's being done and we believe that it can be done. But when you actually have to break it down, listen to it, have it explain to you that it is not as easy as it sounds. And I do believe that some of these people also do know that. When that kind of gets into the public discourse, then now is what is it that can be done? What can be effective? What can be effective is exactly what you've said, exactly what Dr. Carr said, and that is he said that he was on board with those articles of impeachment that are being drawn up and to go ahead and to move that forward, because what that will do is really damage what he's looking to do, and that is to run again. This is a person who does not see anything wrong with who he is and what he's done, and that he has blatantly ignored the 360,000 souls that are no longer here as a result of a pandemic that is out of control because he showed no leadership, and we still don't have a national strategy. So again, thank goodness for Roland Martin Unfiltered, for people who are smart and that are able to share and roll this out for us. But I think that what this is also going to do just in these last remaining days, people just ready for this to be over with. So hopefully, if members are able to draw those, articles of impeachment and get it done, great. But, to be honest, I think what a lot of people are feeling is, number one, because of what we saw yesterday, we do understand white privilege is definitely something that's threatened to the American soil. We don't see there'll be any accountability. And then secondly, that people are really wanting for his presidency to be over with so we can just move into really getting a handle on all of these other things that are mounted against us now.
But it's not going away, see. It's not going away at all. Donald Trump will still be there, and these idiots will follow everything that he asked them to do.
Yeah, and I think that, he's there to remind the public about how the Republican Party is the biggest threat to the national security and well-being of this country. Because if you don't have a Trump, then you have a Josh Hawley, you have a Paul Ryan, you have a charismatic, thin, younger white man who, you know, nice tailored suits and, you know, is well spoken, maybe even a little soft spoken. So, I mean, I love how Dr. Carr has always said, smile at Mike Pence, and he likes people to show their cards. And I think that's what we have with Trump. Trump dangerous, so I'm not trying to diminish that. We don't know what the hell he's going to do. He's starting shit with Iran a couple days ago. It's already fallen off everybody's radar. So he's dangerous, and he is a threat. But does the Republican Party get that? Do the balls to go against him? You still had 7 people vote against certifying the election in the Senate, and over 100 people in the House. So Donald Trump still has the Republican Party by the ball. To some degree, that could be helpful to the Democrats because he's an egomaniac, and once he's out of office, we have to be worried about him selling secrets, you know, and things like that. But in terms of the political warfare he's going to wage in his own party, that'll be their problem to deal with. So, you know, I don't think we're going to see any press on this impeachment. That part is theater. The 25th Amendment stuff is theater. These folks trying to rehabilitate their images. Lane Chow, jumping ship, a couple of jumping ships. It's just all about trying to misdirect the blame away from the people who are implicit in this administration. Last thing I will say, though, what I would like to see happen is for the Congress to come back into session to get these Biden-Harris appointees. Because from what I understand, and if I can recall correctly, they're not scheduled to come back until the 19th. That's the day before the inauguration. So there's no chance in hell that we're going to have any appointees confirmed on January 20th. So unless Biden comes in and immediately asks for the resignation of all these people, you know, of all these Trump appointees, they're going to be behind the 8 ball. So listen, if you can get impeachment done, which I doubt, fine, but get back to the business of preparing for the incoming administration. Make sure that Warnock and Ossoff are seated, that Chuck Schumer is the leader, and that we can move on and start the Biden-Harris administration situated to address these demands very quickly. We do not have any more time to spare in the middle of a pandemic.
That's right.
Greg, very simple, and that is this here. What we are looking at, we talk about this all the time. That clip I played from ABC, that was 5 years ago. And part of the problem is that we got this milquetoast ass commentary, even from a lot of black people on mainstream media, because they don't want to speak about whiteness. They don't want to speak about white supremacy and the threat that we're dealing with. The FBI has already said that white domestic terrorism is the greatest threat to the United States. It's these people here we're talking about. And so all of this, hey, let's just turn the page, reconciliation. No, I am unwilling to reconcile with white supremacy. I am not trying to go along and get along. I don't care about Mitt Romney's speech last night. Why? Because Mitt Romney wanted to be Trump's Secretary of State. I don't care about Senator Lindsey Graham saying that he has now accepted the election when he tried to get the overturn in Georgia, when he has kissed Trump's ass at every point over the past 4 years. I don't care that Mitch McConnell gave a statesman-like speech. No, I'm not trying to love these people. I've listened to some black commentators on other networks talk about, oh, how we need to embrace the moment and this is a moment of healing. Bullshit. These folks do not want to heal. These people want to kill, steal, and destroy. They do not want to see black people voting. They do not want to see black or Latino folks voting. They want us to go back to where we have slavery without shackles. They do not want to share power. They do not want us to have any control whatsoever. They can't stay. Is how they recently use woke, how they attack us. We're going to talk about that with our next guest after your comment, Greg. His brother was attacked for wearing a dashiki in a courtroom, and he's a damn lawyer. That you saw these folks allow these racist terrorists to come into the U.S. Capitol. No, black folks do not fall for the okie doke. These people are not our friends. They're not our allies. We cannot work with them. Once you show me you choose to work with evil, I am going to take you at your word. Damn, working with you.
You're right, Roland. And this is why this show, this space. Now, I just want to echo what Reese has said and what Eric has said. This is the gold standard of conversation right now in media across platforms. Because what we've heard tonight is very nuanced, very well thought out discussion of where we are and what the possibilities are. When Chris Metzler says the Republican Party is basically a bunch of factions. That was a very important statement. And what Arisi has said, right, and Erica has said it as well, there's probably very little, if in no possibility of doing 25th Amendment or impeachment. However, you know, this might be an inflection point in American history. They take decades, centuries even to build. But what can you do in this small window before, as you say, the attention span is gone? Simply put, you know, the Justice Department, forget Merrick Garland, look at Kristen Clark and look at Vanita Gupta and look at his deputies and say, you know what? There needs to be a criminal investigation of Trump. That'll keep Trump tied up. Don't put all this off on Letitia James or Carl Racine and them. Rebuild the Civil Rights Division. Go to the FBI. Reform them thoroughly, because the FBI ain't nobody's friend. Let's be clear. Domestic terrorism, all this stuff. Do that now. Set that aside. I thought, interestingly enough, at that rally yesterday, that Trump almost sounded jubilant and relieved. It may be that he doesn't want to run in 2024. But that he wants to retain that power, because he ain't nothing but a carnival barker. But as long as he is in the field of play, he freezes the Harleys. He freezes the Cottons in them, because they've got to maintain that white nationalist attitude. And that might just be the thing to allow him to do, be under investigation, do this kind of thing. By the way, Roland, where's our man Vernon Jones? Because I saw him out there. He joined the Republican Party on the platform.
Yeah, his punk ass was there. He said he's joining the Republican Party. And I've been in Georgia 5 weeks. Let me just be as clear as possible. I'm trying not to cuss. Some of y'all say I cuss too much. But let me just go ahead and say this. Bitch-ass Vernon Jones hasn't shown up to anywhere I've been in Georgia for the past 5 weeks. And so, yeah, I know my mama and daddy probably ain't gonna like it, but I'm gonna say it again. Bitch-ass Vernon Jones hasn't shown up anywhere. And guess what? Angela Stanton, your trifling ass ain't said nothing. Bruce Lavelle, your trifling ass ain't saying nothing. Alveda King, I want to know, where are you with your Christian talk about what happened yesterday? All y'all punk ass black MAGA people who are running around saying who y'all voted for him. Yeah, Malik Abdul. I'm talking about you. I'm talking about Paris Denard. All y'all. Y'all all supported a racist, sexist, thieving, lying SOB who will unleash hate on this country, and y'all wanted 4 more years of that trash. That's why I don't want to hear a damn thing from nobody who is a part of the 74 million. To me, there are 2 lines. The 74 or the 81. Which one of those were you in? Now, if you didn't vote, yeah, it should have been with the 81, but fine, I ain't gonna dog you too much, but I will still cuss you out. But if you part of the 74 million who voted for Trump, y'all can go to hell, because y'all wanted 4 more years of this evil. Going to a break. When we come back, we're going to talk to a black lawyer. Brother's facing jail time. Why? Because he wore a damn dashiki to court. I'll explain next on Roland Martin Unfiltered.
I want to talk to the Trump supporters for a minute. I don't know who you are, and I don't know why you like this guy.
Whatever he does, he accuses everyone else of doing. The man cannot tell the truth, but he combines it with being a narcissist. A narcissist at a level I don't think this country's ever seen.
And my concern is that he would grab up that power and really treat the country as sort of his little bully fiefdom.
Donald Trump is everything I taught my children not to do in kindergarten.
He's been exploiting working Americans for 40 years. He's a race-baiting, xenophobic, religious bigot.
He says he's for the little guy, but he's actually built a lot of his businesses on the backs of the little guy.
You know, Donald Trump the other day said that, it, quote, if he tells a soldier to commit a war crime, the soldier will just go do it.
And I don't think Donald Trump has even read the Constitution, knows what's in the Constitution.
A toxic mix of demagoguery and mean-spiritedness and nonsense.
I just cannot support Donald Trump.
Donald Trump is a delusional narcissist and an orange-faced windbag.
Donald Trump is a con artist.
He doesn't know the difference between truth and lies. He lies practically every word that comes out of his mouth.
I think he's a kook. I think he's crazy. I think he's unfit for office.
Folks, attorney Jaya Person Lin is scheduled to be sentenced on Friday after the jury convicted him of one count of willfully resisting, delaying, or obstructing a peace officer. The conviction stems from his January 2019 arrest at the San Bernardino County Courthouse, where he was tased and tackled before being arrested when courtroom deputies didn't believe he was an attorney because he had a dashiki on.
That's what I'm here for.
What are you here about? What case?
Anyone, it's not social hour with the clerk. Figure out what you're doing here.
You can step out. Step out.
Oh my God, I'm Bill Roberts.
You cannot approach the clerk.
Department 7.
Because that's the clerk. You see that? Do not approach the clerk.
Okay.
Okay, step out and I can help you out.
What? I want to talk to him.
Sir, step out.
What?
Step out.
What?
Just, no, come on. Go.
Why are y'all?
Because you're not listening. Go. Yeah, I'm sure.
Yes. Talk to the clerk about my case.
So is it yours?
It's my client's case.
So what's your...
I have number MSB 02036, and I'm here to talk to the clerk. You fucked up.
MSB.
I promise you fucked up.
Hey, sir.
180-20365. Put your hands, Barbie. I'm definitely on your case. Definitely coming after you. But everything I've learned and lost. Get on the ground. On the ground. Hear me? Don't tell me you're coming after me and you on me. You understand what I'm telling you? That's a threat. Okay. You know, square off, tell me you're coming after me and then stop.
Sorry.
What the heck, dude? You done? You gonna go to the program or you gonna get my taser?
Joining me right now is Jaya Person Lin. Jaya Person, glad to have you here. This all started because you were wearing dashiki and they didn't believe that you were a lawyer?
Yeah, plain and simple. That's it. And, you know, thanks for having me. Good to see you. But that's it. They did not believe me. I told them exactly who I was, what I was there for. And before the video that you showed started, I tried to pull out my bar card to show them I'm, in fact, an attorney, but I did not get that opportunity. Before that, he pushed.
So they hit you with willfully resisting, delaying, or obstructing a peace officer. And they want to see you in jail for a year because of a shirt you were wearing.
That's what I'm facing. That's what I'm facing. And at the trial, they recognized it was not resisting. Although you hear him on the audio saying, "Are you going to stop resisting?" They know I never resisted. And so at the trial, it was for delaying or obstructing. So at the part of the video you just showed, when he put his hands on me the second time and I put my hand on his and his hand left my chest, that is the act, the specific act that the jury said delayed or obstructed him in the lawful performance of his duty. And that 3-second act is the act that I was convicted of, delaying or obstructing him in his duty.
So what the jury said is the officer put hands on you and you're supposed to stand there and just take it.
That's exactly what they said. It's basically just the us realizing that the Dred Scott case is still good law, at least in San Bernardino County, in which the Supreme Court of the United States wrote, and it's still there on the books today, that for more than a century we were regarded as inferior beings, and so inferior that we could be reduced to slavery for our own benefit, and that a black man had no rights that a white man was bound to respect. So that being good law, that being the state of the law, makes sense why I was convicted. But if I was actually a true full citizen of this nation, I would not have been even charged. That officer would have been charged for battery and assault with a deadly weapon when he shot me with the taser.
Are you concerned after the jury took 3 seconds and convicted you and first of all, who determines what your sentence is going to be? Is it the judge or is it the jury?
It's the judge that allowed the jury to act on that. The whole thing, from the second I walked through the doors of the courtroom until the time I was tased, was under 2.5 minutes. But the judge enumerated 9 different acts from that one charge in those 2.5 minutes to allow the jury to try and convict me on. So they didn't convict me on the other 8, but they convicted me on that one act, it took the jury 7 hours of deliberation, and it was only about 7 hours of testimony. So that's a long time to testify. That's a long time to deliberate with such short testimony. But when the judge allowed all of those acts to come in, they figured they had to convict me of something. And they ultimately did. And then when I talked to a couple jurors afterwards, one of them told me it wasn't the act of pushing his hand away from you that was the guilty act. It was the fact that once you did that, it made him focus on you more. So he followed you out of the courtroom. Even though I was following their instructions to leave, the fact he followed and nobody asked him to follow is what made me delay him. That was their actual reasoning that they stated why they convicted me.
That makes no sense whatsoever.
It makes no sense at all, because what they're saying is if there's an officer on the streets doing DUI patrol, but then they pull me over for using my cell phone while driving, I have now obstructed this officer from doing his DUI patrol duty. And that is the kind of logic that the jury of no black people. We were in Rancho Cucamonga. It's 8 or 9% black. It's 10% Asian. But out of the 24 jurors in the jury pool, there were 0 blacks and 6 Asians. And one of the jurors, the juror that told me his reasoning, he actually told the judge before the trial that he's not a good juror for this, as he believes police are right all the time. So if I didn't do exactly what they said, I'd be wrong. And he even told me if the cop pushed him like that, he would have removed his hand. But that's him telling me, in his eyes, I'm less than him, because if it's right for him to do it, but not for me to do it.
So you will learn your fate tomorrow morning at 8:30 a.m. Pacific time, correct?
Sir, from the same judge allowed that juror to stay on and allowed those 9 acts. And the thing about this statute, it's specific to an officer. So there could be 2 officers there, and I have to delay a specific officer, not just law enforcement in general. So 4 of the 9 acts that the judge enumerated for the jury to decide on were not even against Deputy Berry, who was the white deputy in the video that got physical with me and shot me with the taser. 4 of them were against the other deputy, who testified, I should not have been arrested, I should not have been tased. But imagine that. You had a black deputy saying I shouldn't have been arrested or tased. You had a black attorney saying I shouldn't have been arrested and tased.
It will not be enough to restore what has been undermined or lost. This moment demands bold leadership. The Department of Justice, as it is throughout its storied history, will have to uncover and reckon with hard truths, hold people, companies, and institutions accountable to Constitution and laws, drive change where there is injustice, and heal a nation starving for leadership and decency and now is the time to ensure that our economic system works for everyone, can protect the health and safety of all the American people. It will harness all of the Justice Department's lives for civil rights, justice and police reform, and climate justice, and so much more. As the late Congressman John Lewis said, democracy is not a state, it is an act. And I pledge to the American people, if confirmed, I will act for justice every day. I pledge that to you, President-elect. I pledge that to you, Vice President-elect. I am honored, deeply honored, for the chance to work together with activists for justice, with law enforcement, with this extraordinary team that I am so humbled to serve, with the incredible women and men at the Justice Department to strengthen our democracy and to make equal justice under law a real promise for all. Thank you so much for this opportunity.
And Clint Clark, who leads the Lawyers Committee for Civil Rights under law, a frequent guest on this show. Here's what she had to say.
Mr. President-elect, Madam Vice President-elect, it's an honor and a privilege to be nominated to return to the Department of Justice and serve the American people at this critical moment in our democracy. I am humbled and exceedingly proud to join the remarkable team that you have put together to pursue the urgent, timely cause of equal justice under law. I stand here today deeply inspired by the example of the late Thurgood Marshall, Constance Motley, and other public servants who dedicated their lives to advance the cause of justice. We are at a crossroads. If I am fortunate enough to be confirmed, we turn the page on hate and close the door on discrimination by enforcing our federal civil rights laws. Growing up in Brooklyn, New York, my parents instilled in me an unrelenting belief in the principles of hard work and respect for the dignity and humanity of people. I am deeply thankful for the trail that my parents blazed. Today, I'm thinking about the pride that I know their Pansy, my brother Troy, my sister Karen, partner Mustafa, are feeling as I take on this challenging new opportunity. And Mom, myself now, I see the future of America in the eyes of my son. Honestly, at times I am worried. Will he have full and equal access to the extraordinary opportunities of American life? Will he be able to embrace those opportunities in safety and dignity? Will of America's children? Every parent lays awake some nights asking these same questions. I know that my parents did. I was fortunate to benefit from amazing educational opportunities and plenty of lucky breaks that opened doors for me. But I know then, as I know today, that not everyone is blessed with the opportunities that I enjoyed. That awareness animated my life's work. It's what brought me to the Department of Justice, where I started my career, and it's what brings me back for this homecoming today. The department, especially the Civil Rights Division, has always occupied a special place in my heart. The clarion call of equal justice under law is what binds us together as a nation. Now, it's my honor to return to work alongside the dedicated career professionals who give themselves every day to make that principle real in the lives of families, mine, in my son's life, and in the lives of all of our sons and daughters. I know the passion and fearlessness that both the President-elect and the Vice President-elect bring to the work for us, to restore justice, to heal our nation, and to move us closer to that ideal equal justice. I'm humbled, honored, and eager to work with them and with this team. Thank you for giving me this opportunity to serve my country as a member of your administration.
Greg, you went to Ohio State Law School. You understand these issues, your assessment of this legal team, this justice team Joe Biden has assembled.
Let me pause here and say shout out to the HBCUs. I do teach a class at the Howard University School of Law, And Kristen Clark is a proud graduate of the Howard University School of Law. So I want to say that. By the way, so is young brother Person Lynn. I knew his father was a professor of Pan-African Studies out on the West Coast. He's a Hustle grad. Also went to Hampton undergrad. Merrick Garland is irrelevant if he stay out of the way of those two. And we need to make him stay out of the way of those two. Because I'm going to tell you right now, all those consent decrees will be reinstated with Kristen Clark over civil rights. You heard what Vanita Gupta said about using the full power and extent of the law, the investigations, and there's some things in there, and I'll keep this very brief. The parting middle finger that Toad Barr gave on his way out, scurrying out the door, was a recommendation to the White House to revise the way that the federal government pursues cases under Title VI of the Civil Rights Act of 1964. This is what they call in the law the kind of use of patterns, or the phrase in Title VI is disparate impact. In other words, if you apply for a mortgage and you don't get the points and you say it's because you don't have to show that it happened to you individually. If you can show a disparate impact on Black people or Latinos or LGBTQ or women. And so what the Attorney General did without any public comment period is suggest to the Trump administration on the way out the door through that stink bomb. Now, Biden and them can't undo that immediately, but they can choose through the Department of Justice whether or not to pursue that strategy. That's now up to Vanita Gupta. So, hey, Merrick, stay out the way, bruh. One other thing I'll say, one great thing about Merrick Garland, and I endorse this 150%. Merrick Garland leaves the D.C. Court of Appeals, which many people call the farm team Supreme Court, immediately. And let's put, Reese, let's put this on our sister Kamala Harris. We don't want 5 names. We don't want 3 names. Find the name of the Black woman you want to appoint to the D.C. Court of Appeals. Go to Stephen Breyer and say, bruh, you're 82. Let's move you out the paint in 2 years. Put that sister on the Supreme Court. Or, since Clarence Thomas is a Black man, how do we know that? His hair done turned Snow White. Keep your left eye on him. Diabetes might make him quit, and get that sister on the Supreme Court. So good, Merrick Garland. Appoint him, put that sister on the Supreme Court. Let's make this move. Don't be bullshitting with these people, because otherwise they'll slow walk us on this unity BS. But yeah, that's my journey.
Or Reese, I'll do this here. Appoint a sister to Merrick Garland's seat, and then go to Stephen Breyer, and then appoint a sister to the Supreme Court. Go for a twofer. Your thoughts on this DOJ team?
I'm all for it. Listen, we need to quit moving Black people on the chessboards and not getting a net plus. Okay. So Ketanji Brown Jackson, let's put her in Merrick Garland's seat. And yes, that's the name that I've seen, thrown out there. So yeah, we're gonna have to galvanize behind her. But absolutely, listen, Merrick Garland, whatever. He doesn't excite me. He doesn't repulse me. I think he's a very, it's kind of the Obama mentality, right? Oh, let's put a very moderate, uncontroversial white man in there that's not gonna offend anybody. And so whatever to that. But really, that's more of a policy overseer. But really the meat of it is in these other appointments. I am thrilled to see Kristen Clark and Vanita Gupta in positions. That is going to bring tangible change, because these are not people that just sit up there and throw flames. These are people that are actually serious people who have been on the forefront of all of these major fights throughout and before this that we need to deal with. So these are very, very, very serious, credible picks that are exciting picks. I think people are going to have a hard time trying to diminish them and say that that the Biden-Harris administration is unserious about progress on these fronts, assuming, as Dr. Carr pointed out, that Merrick Garland stays out the way and kind of lets them run the show. So this is that is just absolutely thrilling to me. With Kristen Clark, I heard that she was offered a different position and she decided that she wanted this position specifically. And so I feel like we're in good hands with those two. As much as can be done at the executive level and in agency power, which is significant, I think we are really, really the better off having these two women in these positions.
Got it. Erica, final comment?
Sherilyn Ifill. That's my final comment. Sherilyn Ifill. I'm looking to hear her name kind of circulate when we're talking about Supreme Court picks. But, again, we think about Kristen Clark and we think about Vanita Gupta, as everyone has pretty much said. when I think about in terms of all of the unsexy fights, they have been in state courts. They have been fighting the good fight on the unpopular, uncovered cases that have really kind of helped democracy continue to really push forward. So really happy to hear this. And we're, again, like everybody else, we're just looking forward to day one so we can get things moving and going.
Roland, before you move to your next story, though, I must say, I was going to say, that signer, that way too much, Sister George. See, that's what Mo Brooks and them hate. You see that?
She was working. She was getting it. She was giving it.
That's what they hate, man.
Sis had her purple and her black on.
Hey, we have flavor no matter what we do. All right, y'all. I'm gonna end it. First of all, Kristen Clark is a huge of this show. I've been hugely supportive of her, leading the Lawyers Committee. I'm joining TV1 on this show as well, and so we certainly congratulate her and look forward to working with her in the Department of Justice. I saw this clip. Jamal Bryant posted this real quick, y'all. Yesterday, when all the stuff was going down in the House, somebody shared this video. Lisa Rochester of Delaware. All I'm simply saying is, if y'all need somebody to pray on your behalf, y'all might want to call her. This is what went down in the midst of that craziness in the House yesterday. Check this out.
Imagine, and law enforcement will take over. These moments, as members of the House chamber got on their knees and prayed, all of it bringing the presidential transition process, which was supposed to be happening today, to a screeching halt, although we do understand there's an effort to get it back underway tonight to continue the continuity of government, which is obviously so important in the United States. Imagine, and
y'all saw the look on her face. That was some praying. That's what we call intercessory praying.
Amen. She was
for all y'all folk who don't know about, for all y'all who don't know about intercessory praying, that was the intercessory praying that was going on right there. That's it for us today. We certainly want to thank. Look at the hand. Look at that.
One more.
Yeah.
If I could just say one thing just about Georgia. You mentioned you've been in Georgia for 5 weeks. I want to say thank you, Roland. Nobody has covered the state of Georgia like Roland Martin Unfiltered. I said it on Twitter, but I want to say it again here. Roland Martin on this program back in December said that he would be in Albany, Georgia on a Thursday, and he was there 2 days later. And after that, the Warnock campaign showed up, and they showed up again and again and again. It's folks like Roland Martin that they don't say that they're going to do something and maybe do it. They damn do it. Roland, you helped turn the tide. You talked to people. You were on the ground. It seemed like it was 24 hours coverage. So my brother, I bless you. I thank you. You covered 159 counties. And you were also, as Congresswoman Brenda Long talked about Michigan, you were also very much so a part of the way that helped turn Georgia motherfucking blue. So thank you, Roland Martin.
Well, certainly appreciate it. We've had a great time here in Georgia. We made the commitment that we were going to be here. And so we were in Albany 2 times. We were in Albany twice. We were in Columbus twice. We were in Savannah 3 times. We were in Macon. We were in Athens. We were in Clayton County, Gwinnett County, DeKalb County, Fulton County. And so we spent lots of time here. And this is also why I encourage people to join our Bring the Funk fan club. Because I need y'all to understand, there's a mayoral election in St. Louis. The primary is March 21st. It's nonpartisan. You've got a white progressive who's running. You've got 3 African Americans. Don't see why the black people in St. Louis can't get together and run one person. Okay, that's how Shara Jones lost last time. But I've already reached out to her. We're going to go to St. Louis. We're going to host a town hall there. We'll invite other candidates as well. But we're going to be doing that. You got Virginia gubernatorial race is going to be taking place. The primary is likely in June. We're going to be all over Virginia. We're looking at some of these races. In 2022, Ron Johnson is running in Wisconsin. We're going to go to Wisconsin and take his ass out. That punk-ass Marco Rubio will be running in Florida. We plan on going down to Florida, taking his ass out as well. And so we are going to use our resources be on the ground, going to places. And just so y'all know, I wish I could show it to you, but it's actually connected. I just want y'all to understand. Y'all think, and I'm purposely transparent because I need y'all to understand. It's sort of like when I talk to my nieces, I tell them how much stuff costs so they can understand that this stuff don't just happen. I mean, seriously, the equipment, the live streaming equipment that we use is called an LU800. Y'all, we were out there. ABC got the same unit. CBS got the same unit. NBC got the same unit. Fox got the same unit. Now, they probably got 30, 40, or 50 of them. We got 2. But we're using top-of-the-line equipment that these folks are doing as well. And so I need our people to understand that we're serious about covering African Americans, bringing you the kind of news we're talking about. And so, again, that vehicle, that rolling bill we're talking about, that was $188,000. That allows for us to be able to travel across the country and broadcast wherever we go. I told y'all last night, our goal is to launch our OTT channels, okay? That means we're gonna be on Apple TV, we're gonna be on Roku, we're gonna be on Twitch, we're gonna be on Amazon Fire, we're gonna be on Xbox, we're gonna be on Samsung TV. That's $145,000 a year. And so we're not playing around. Let me be just real clear. I'm not wasting any more time on what other black media people are not doing. I tried to partner with all these other black media people. Y'all, I email all of them. Folk didn't want to partner. I'm not wasting any more time. We're going to build this, and we're going to build something significant. And so once I unveil it to y'all, I'm telling y'all, the vision was always larger than just a show for me. It was always larger. Okay, and so we're going to be hiring a number of people in 2021 to build this team out. So do understand, we're not playing games. I am not going to cede anything to the other networks. We can do just as well. And in fact, I got an email from one of these from Showtime for a show. They actually want to use some of the video from one of the Warnock rallies that we shot that we had that they don't have. And so y'all need to understand that also I'm getting phone calls from people in England who want to use our content. It was a Botham Jean rally we covered. It's a documentary that they actually want to use for. And so we are building this, and so we need your support. Yes, we're out here going to these advertisers trying to get these dollars. Trust me, I've made it clear to Chuck Schumer. I'm going to make clear to Biden and to Harris as well. The federal government spends $1 billion a year on media advertising, and black media only gets $10.1 million a year of that money. Black media gets listen to me, y'all. Black media gets 1% of the $1 billion annually on media. In the words of Frank Lucas, I'm gonna get that money. And so this is what we are building. And so do understand, I'm not playing games. And so we're serious about this. And so I just want y'all to understand that when you give, and y'all need to understand, I get every time y'all give to Cash App, my phone pings. When you give to PayPal, when you give to Zelle, when you give to Venmo, I literally see every single one of your notices. And for the folks who gave today $1.75, there are people who gave $4 today. There are people who gave $10 today. There was somebody who gave a $250 one-time gift. I appreciate the $1.75. I appreciate the $250 because you know what? $250 plus $175 is $250, $175. And so it all matters. And so we want y'all to please support us in what we do. Cash App is $RM Unfiltered. PayPal is paypal.me/RM Unfiltered. The Venmo is venmo.com/RM Unfiltered. Zelle is at Roland S. We also money order to New Vision, 1625 Northwest Washington, Suite, Washington, D.C., 2000. You also, of course, with a credit card with Square, unfiltered.com. Yes, I am fully aware of YouTube. The signal dropped out. We had 11,000 people on with YouTube. We dropped down to 3,400, came back to 7,600. I've already sent YouTube an email because I'm pissed off that we had 16,500 people on yesterday, and our signal got cut, and we never got back above 8,000. And so they already heard from me with 3 emails in the past 10 minutes about this, which is also why building our own OTT channel is important, y'all, because if we do that, then YouTube can't cut our signal. So no matter what video we show or photos we show on our own OTT channel, we control that 100%. So that's why that matters. Folks, I appreciate it. Tomorrow's my last day here in Georgia. We return back to our home on Saturday. And so I ain't seen my folk. I'm sure my niece is like, what do he look like? But again, we've been out here doing the work. And so we're going to keep doing the work. I will see y'all tomorrow on Roland Martin Unfiltered.